Well, George, thank you for coming in today.
Thank you for that you
For inviting me.
don't read.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have applied for our construction project manager
Yeah, right.
position, right? Yep.
Right.
So I'm in human resources. I'll be one of your interviewers, and so I don't know a lot about construction project management, but
Very
I will interview you, and then after this, you'll interview with someone in our construction division.
Okay.
And they'll
Yeah,
have more
sounds good.
technical
Yeah.
questions for you. Well, to start out, I looked at your resume, but why don't you just give me the highlights?
Highlights about my resume.
Mm-hmm.
I have master degree in construction management and construction engineering, and I have additional education that I attended university in Germany. I studied real estate management. I have more than 10 years experience in construction field and in management. I worked in different position like head of department or CEO or project management in different companies, and I know pretty good the whole development cycle of real estate, from plot development to construction engine.
Okay, great. So, well, next I'll get into some questions. We call them behavioral interview questions.
Okay.
And so I'll ask you a question about your past experience. And if you could tell me your answer in what we call a PAR format. So what was the problem, what were the actions you took, and then what was the result?
Okay.
Okay. So tell me about a time you delegated a project effectively.
It was in my job as CEO of construction company, design and construction company, construction management company, perhaps service in back in Belarus. I manage few projects, few big projects, and I had a time to manage all projects simultaneously, and I delegate some parts of project like routine work to my team, and I did just actions that needs a lot of competency.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And how did that work out?
Yeah, very good. The project was accomplished with right deadline and in the budget.
Mm-hmm. Good. That's what we like to see in construction. On
Yeah.
time and within budget.
Yeah.
Okay. Give me an example of a time you tried to accomplish something and failed. We all have those situations sometimes where, despite our best efforts, something goes wrong. So, tell me about a time.
Okay, in construction, always something goes wrong, but it doesn't mean that it's a failure. In construction, you can always do something another way, and it means it can be a failure, but you get the end product in each case. And what you called Feda. I have so issue each project, and for example, when I worked in crop service, we had a big project with biggest brewery in Belarus. We had a project. We designed museum for this brewery, and uh, we had a deadline for design documentation with deadline about 6 months.
6 months for a
Six
brewery
months.
museum?
Yeah, for Brewery Museum.
Okay.
Yeah, and
That's great.
we reached this deadline, but it was a problem in brewery. They couldn't approve our documentation, and I should go to the CEO of brewery and speak with him about problems, and we reach deadline, but a little bit later. Not it was not our because we didn't do it in the right time. It was because it was problem in brewery, but we get it in the right way and did it a little bit later. But client was satisfied with our job, and project went ahead.
Uh-huh. Good. Okay, thank you. Let's see. How do you think your coworkers would describe you, both good and bad? If I asked them about George.
My previous coworker, I hope would describe me as a good manager. But I had before issues with my coworker in my first job as a manager. I couldn't manage people well. I hadn't empathy to the people. I was very autocratical, but I learned from this my first manager job that it should be doing in another way. I read some books about it and watched some trainings in internet about management and about how to say leadership. And in my previous job, it was all my co-workers, my team was open to communication with me, and I didn't make decision myself. We always had team team teamwork, meetings, and uh, we we made decision together. I made the end decision, but I gathered all
Input or ideas? maybe?
ideas, yeah, all ideas, and made decisions. It's come always some words in German.
Sure, yeah.
For me, I know this word, but it's also friend word. It's also a foreign word, but in German, and I always want to edit.
Yeah, speak German.
Yeah, speak German.
Well, looks like you learned a lot. Sounds like you learned a lot from that first experience then.
Yeah. I learned. I learn every time. I learn first experience, second, and I get from my job always some ideas how to be better in the future.
So what questions do you have for me? That's all I have for you, but what questions do you have for me?
Um, yeah. First of all, I want to know uh, how can I do my job on the highest level? What do you expect from me that I will do for to be to be to be just to be uh, to be like a good member of your team.
Sure. Well, with any job, there's a what and a how. So, in terms of the what you do, that would be up to your manager. We have a performance goal setting process. So, there'd be particular projects and deadlines and things like that within your management team. And then, in addition, we have the how you do it is our company values. So things like, teamwork and respect and credibility and things like that. That we'd expect, and you would learn more about those in company orientation. But from what you say, I wouldn't see a difficulty with those. We believe in ongoing open communication, so if you did have questions about how you were doing, your manager should be willing to sit down and talk through that with you as well as your team members.
Okay, and do you know who will be my manager already, or
Well, the manager for this position is John Smith, and his
okay.
background, similar to yours, is also in construction and engineering.
Okay, and how can you describe him?
Oh my! Oh, I might get in trouble for this. Well, let's see. Well, John is he can be very direct, very driven. He's one of our best leaders in the company. He's done does very well in his projects in terms of time and budget and so forth. Sometimes that drive can people can find that a little bit intimidating at first because he is so eager and he holds his teams to very high standards. But I am confident that when anybody who's worked on his team has a lot of pride in that, they do very well, and I'm sure he would be a good mentor and coach.
Okay, and who is working in his team too? I mean, does he have just one manager like me, or he has many managers?
He's got three actually. So we're divided into commercial and residential, and John has the commercial sector. And within that, he's got like a group that does hospitals, schools, and then other, kind of smaller, medium-sized projects. So there would be three, and those managers may rotate around as well. So for this opening, it will be for one of those three positions, but we might do some internal changes as part of this. I couldn't say which of those you might be the best candidate for.
Okay. And what which people no what team members works on projects together with project manager. I mean, it should be marketing specialist, financing, engineers. How many people I will have in my team? Will these people split it between all company or just between these three managers that
Sure.
work in this department?
Well, we kind of have some positions that are dedicated and some that are shared. So, for example, you might have say, design, engineering, construction on your immediate team that you're the direct manager for. And then some of the other areas like marketing and finance would be what we call a shared service. So some of the teams, they might come and go from different teams depending on the need.
And who decide on which project will a particular manager work? I mean, not manager, particular team member work.
Well, you would decide with the people who are your direct reports, and then typically the other function like finance or marketing would decide, on their team members based on their availability and skills and the status of the project. Certainly if there's a particular person you've worked with before that you're hoping to have on a team, you'd be able to talk with your counterpart in finance and say, Joe's really been strong in this particular area. I think he'd bring a lot, and then, ultimately the decision would be up to the finance head, but, certainly he'd be open to input and feedback. We're pretty open around here.
Okay, the communication is open. I can each time go to each team member or each person and speak with them about problem. I shouldn't go first to my managers and to the manager of this person and get approval to speak with someone.
Not on a day-to-day project basis. In terms of selection of team members, that would be done at the manager level. But then once somebody's assigned to a team, if you had a particular project and you had a finance issue, you'd be able to go just talk with that finance team member directly.
It's good. It's a metric system. It's all good.
Yeah, we try to make it work.
Yeah. Okay, and do you have, or not, how often do you have some team building events? Do you have this?
It's really up to each team. That would be a question in the next interview when you meet with the person who'd be your manager. You could ask more about the department and how often they do, team building activities.
And how do you like work for this company?
Oh, I love it. Yeah. Yes, it's a wonderful company. We really produce good products and build great buildings. And when I drive by them, I'm just proud to think that our company built that. And even though I don't have a construction background myself, I do feel responsible for bringing in great talent like you and others to make sure that we keep that going.
Yeah, I hope I will enjoy this job in this company too.
Yes. Well, thanks again for coming in, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you for the interview. Bye.
Thank you. Thanks.